Okay. Good evening and welcome, Switch On Health students, to our series of information sessions with our industry suppliers. So my name is Carmen and I am the clinic coordinator here at Switch On Health. Part of my role is to introduce you to the valuable companies and suppliers that we have within the profession. So when it comes time for after you graduate, it's important to be familiar with the different companies that are out there, knowing what they offer and who to utilise for what, and how to access them for, prescribing products for your patients, for example. This will become an integral part of your day-to-day running of your clinic as a practitioner. So tonight we are very happy to be welcoming Shilo Mason. Shilo is the founder of family-owned and operated Ariya Health. So Ariya Health is a national wholesale distributor specialising in high quality practitioner only products. So they support health practitioners in clinic all around Australia. So we will open up to questions at the end of Shilo's presentation. If you do have any questions along the way, just feel free to write them in the chat box. If you are rewatching this on YouTube, you are welcome to write your questions in the comments below. So thank you, Shilo.
Thank you so much, Carmen. I really appreciate the opportunity this evening. And thank you, ladies, for joining this evening as well. As Carmen mentioned, please don't hesitate if you have any questions. Wait around to the end and certainly ask them then, or alternatively, reach out to the Switch On team, and any of our team will be able to assist as well. So Ariya Health is run by myself and my two wonderful sisters. We've also got an amazing team that, to be honest, we consider to be sisters as well. I think it's an amazing component to be within this industry, with a team that I think is there for the right reasons as well. We're one of the few distributors in Australia that are run by women. For what is really a majority run female industry to service and support. Ariya Health is, as mentioned, a wholesale distributor. And so basically what we do is we supply the tools of integrative medicine to naturopaths and herbalists, homeopaths, body workers, through to integrative GPs, dentists, doctors, sports physiologists as well. We have a wide variety of different products to supply on either directly through to wholesale as well as provision of a prescription service. I think that the biggest thing that really sets us apart is, whilst we do provide the tools of practice and the products, for example, and education materials and things like that, all of our team are actually practitioners in our own right. And so one of the things that myself, as well as my lovely sisters, have always held incredibly close to our heart is not just sales. So, for example, if you do have a clinic-specific question and you'd like to run a case by somebody else, you've got a team of us that have no judgment whatsoever. I'm happy to bounce ideas back and forth and to go through either, pathology or symptom-based prescribing, through to the support that we offer for, for example, excipients, or if you have a concern, or if you're after, a vegan multivitamin, for example. So our service is quite broad in that respect. We've been running for close to 25 years now. Previously, Ariya Health ran as Far North Queensland Nutritionals and typically serviced from south of Rockhampton up through to Darwin and over touching into Perth. However, over the last 15 years, we've definitely expanded our wings to support nationally and internationally as well. We do regularly do education sessions, and that sits under the banner of Clinical Minds. You can see there my two lovely sisters, and part of our introduction flyer is a little bit of our history that really shows, I guess, where Ariya Health has come from. My mother's been in clinical practice for now 45 years. So our team really does come from long-term practitioners in this space as well. And so effectively what Ariya does, our focus is to supply education and support regardless of your clinical experience. And so for us, we don't actually prioritize our team for how much you're spending or how busy your practice is or anything like that. We have two main goals: to really ensure that we're supporting clinicians in practice, no matter how you practice. And the second one really is to ensure that our industry remains strong. And for us, the argument is that together we're stronger. And there's no sense in working in isolation or pondering on a problem when you can reach out to somebody and actually ask them some questions. We do have a full online prescription service that is available, and we utilise a vast majority of Australian products through to some that you might readily recognise, like the Bioconcepts range, Bioceuticals, Bioclinic, MediHerb, Herbal Extract, all of the main ingredient suppliers in Australia, through into those that are actually developed by practitioners as well. And those you might recognise, like NaturBest, Fem21, for example, and the Chelsea Gene range for lymphatics as well. It's critical for us to support clinicians, as I mentioned, no matter where they are, whether you're there more in being able to supply a product to other practitioners or work in your own clinic. We do have a really fast and effective next day service. We prioritise overnight air freight deliveries across Australia. And we also do a lot of road freight supports as well. We do have a full range of Queensland only products because we are based in Queensland. So some of you might not be aware of the products that we can supply, like the Vera's range, for example, or Bioactive and MD Nutritionals. And the benefits for that is that you can use the prescription service for direct delivery to your clients. The other wonderful component is that we do provide a very exceptional rebate on our prescription service. And as you can appreciate and see in the slide, there's quite a broad range of clinically applicable ranges there. One of the wonderful things that's always held really close to our team is the service and the provision of a herbal medicine suite of products in the prescription service. Not all of us can actually afford to have a whole plethora of nutritional medicines and herbal extracts or MediHerb or PPC liquid herbs. So you're most welcome to utilise our prescription herbal medicines to actually make your own blends as well. And some practitioners utilise that service to really get a good handle on the herbal medicines. So for example, if you're not familiar with the difference between, say, a MediHerb with Withania or herbal extract or PPC, with Ania. You can certainly, look at getting a sample of each of those from us and actually getting a really hands-on taste and experience the difference between them as well. One of the wonderful things that we're also incredibly proud of is we support two fantastic brands that we do hold very close to our heart. Ariya Health has a suite of prebiotic fibres, so the partially hydrolyzed guar gum, inulin, FOS, GOZ, and lactulose. But for us, I think an amazing flagship company that falls back on the strengths of our team and sisterhood is the V4Me range. So if you're not familiar with it, please pop on to, say, Instagram or even the V4Me website, and you can see that we're really trying to develop the education component to be unashamedly for women. And so we do try to provide that education for vaginal and vulval health, but also intimacy and language and support of women no matter where they are in their age as well. You'll see that the majority of the brands that we do have are really practitioner only, but we do have a few that are more considered the retail space. And the reason quite often is practitioners will work in a multitude of different places within the industry. And also we want to be able to select the best tools for the job. So they're not always practitioner only brands, whilst that does provide some support for clinical practitioners. There are other brands that have been around for a long time that do provide quite remarkable products as well, like Blackmore's, for example, that you'd probably be the most familiar with. Our exclusive ranges that we do have, as I mentioned, are the V4Me range and the Ariya Health spread. I think that, as I've mentioned, you'll see a lot more education coming out in the space, especially around the V4Me range, because I think it's an area that potentially is just so critical to our industry and the women that we are there to support. But also I think that potentially there's lacking from an education perspective. We might talk about, menstrual cycles, for example, but we don't necessarily talk nor think that we have the tools for things like vulval atrophy or dryness going in through menopause or postpartum, or simple things about vaginal pH and what that means. And so that's really the education component that sits underneath the V4Me range. So there is a lovely fennel oil, some pH testing and symptom tracking kits, lactulose in both a liquid and a powder. The Grow capsules have both lactulose and green tea, and also the Plump there, which is our sea buckthorn and vitamin D product. The biggest component I think that a lot of practitioners reach out to us for is the liquid herbal and supplement prescription service. We have a lovely integration with a fantastic team from Simple Clinic. And so if you are writing scripts or you do consider that for your prescription or clinic service platform, that makes it really nice and easy. So you don't necessarily have to hold all the stock. You can utilize us for a drop ship service and write up your scripts within Simple Clinic, and it gets sent directly through to us. The other component that you do have access to is obviously all of the liquid herbs that I've mentioned there as well, which is wonderful. And that's a full range of MediHerb and herbal extract, PPC in their traditional lines, and then also their wonderful fresh plant tinctures as well. Obviously, if you'd like to reach on out to our team, and we're happy to bounce ideas off if you've got a tricky case, or, you know, potentially if there is a herb that is out of stock and maybe working through an alternative, we're certainly happy to do that one as well. And we supply a prescription label with the dosages that you suggest, as well as the ingredient listings as well. The custom herbals on the website, we actually have 2 websites running at the moment, and that's just really transitioning to something that is a lot more expansive, and that I'm actually putting together a little bit of a herbal algorithm. I utilize one in my own clinical practice to determine when I am blending herbs in there together, which herbs I should add, which herbs I shouldn't add, and whether or not there's any sedimentation in those herbs as well, and then keeping an eye on the alcohol content. So over the next year or so, that will actually be added on in there to support clinicians if they are time poor and they are putting these herbs on together. Our website does enable you to add your custom herbal, the sizing, the blends, and then also determine the container size, so that you can be really confident that your rebate is appropriate, but also you can get a good insight as to what it's actually costing the client there as well. This is an indication of the screen that you'll actually see on the website, and you can see that this one here has the 100 ml liquid herbal, and then you can just pop on in the herb that's actually available there as well. And you can see it's a herbal extract, astragalus, mediherb, and that PPC, and it lets you know straight away the ratio and the pricing. And then it also gives you an idea about the suggested adult dosage in alignment with the company's suggestion as well. And you can see down the bottom right-hand side that the name of the herbal formula that you can modify, as well as the actual name of the herbal mix. So potentially, if you're making up one that's an adrenal tonic, that information can actually be transferred to the prescription label there as well. Once you pop in a wholesale order, you can go and either directly get it sent to yourself, or we can drop ship it directly to your client as well. So the service is really as malleable as you would like. Some clinicians might be able to supply some of the product in their script, whereas they don't like us to supply simply the liquid herbal. Patient prescriptions are super easy to modify on our website, but I also know that a lot of clinicians do prefer to give us a call or simply send us an email at the end of their client time as well. And both of those services are completely fine with us, whatever makes it easier to be in clinical practice. And so you can see this little prescription service sits in a really straightforward platform to pop in your instructions for your treatment plan. And then you can also see when the script expires, if you want to email the prescription, if you want to check it out yourself, and you can see if there's any edits that's actually been done, or whether or not the client has actually gone into the script if you've popped it in online. One of the things that I think has been really critical, especially if you're working rapidly or on the fly, you want an ability to really change the prescription, the repeats, calculate children's dosing, as well as set pricing and changes in frequency. So for example, if you're dealing with an acute prescription, your dosing might be a little bit different. It might be, 3 mils 3 or 4 times a day. And then that might shift in through to a chronic dose. So that might be, 1 or 2 mils twice a day, for example. And you can also set up prescriptions, which is what I do in my clinical practice, if you've got a client potentially that maybe has asthma, and you don't necessarily always have to have that script, but when they do have an attack, you want to basically have it there so that they can get on at their most convenient time and order that prescription for that acute treatment plan. Urinary tract infections are another one that I utilize these sorts of scripts for, simply because they're not ongoing scripts, but they're simply when needed. So there's lots of frequently asked questions, and they're pretty straightforward. A lot of practitioners ask, how your recommended retail pricing is actually determined. We provide a recommended retail pricing that's in line with the manufacturer's pricing. But obviously, as a clinician, you can change that as much or as little as you like. And so with our prescription service, you can indeed do that. Some practitioners pull it down to cost price, whereas others might have a more significant margin as well. The rebates are basically paid normally within the first week of the next month. But if there's any delay in the banking, we usually just give ourselves just that few extra days extra as well. We offer freight-free charges on everything over $175, and so that tends to be quite easy for practitioners to utilize that. And we use a rapid freight service with StarTrack that also integrates with Australia Post as well. You can easily view all of the profits, so that's no problem whatsoever. And so you're able to pop in your orders online, email, via phone, or even text message. So that's nice and handy too. Obviously, I'm very cautious of the time. So Ariya Health, the aim for us is actually really to be as flexible as we need to, depending on how you'd like to practice. Some clinicians really go through with integrative healthcare studies for their own personal health and for their families. And so we have some practitioners that really just utilize our services in the support of their family and their extended family, whereas others go on to work in integrative clinics or have multiple different clinical settings, as I do. I do practitioner services through the Worm Whisperer as well as We4Me. I have my own clinical setting as well, and I do work in other practitioners' clinics too. So I think for me, having such a complex, ever-moving practice, as well as running Ariya Health in the way that I do, that's at the back part of mind of how I want Ariya to provide that service to everybody as well. And I did mention earlier that we sync directly with Simple Clinic, so that will make it nice and handy. And over the next 6 months, you'll get a direct alignment with product supply from us. So if we're out of stock for whatever reason, that will actually come up with a notification for Simple Clinic as well. I've included our little Ariya Health sign-up form, so you can certainly use your phone at your leisure and pop that on through. There's a few little questions there that you can answer, and then somebody in our team will actually give you a call, either myself or one of the beautiful team members that I work with, usually on the road. So it'll be Carmel or Lucy or Rebecca, or either of my two beautiful sisters, Tia and Belinda. So I genuinely do believe that better is standard for us, and together we are stronger. And so if there is anything that you'd like your wholesale distributor to actually assist you in clinical practice, don't hesitate. I know that I do have the next couple of minutes, and I'd just like to extend, one of the most important things as I went through study was having amazing mentors and practitioners that were free with their knowledge and I think were there for the right reasons. You know, I was very lucky because my mother worked in clinical practice for a long time. So for me, it was very second nature. And my sister and I were studying at the same time. I'm a biochemist, so I did a lot of university studies as well. So I think for us, it's critical to maintain the student care that I held so important to me as I was going through. So if you'd like to pop together, you know, a group of students, and you'd like myself or any of our team members to run through case studies or product supply, or we even ran a lovely clinic up in Townsville a couple of years ago, where we had about 150 clients come through over 10 days. We rotated that through with 20 students, sitting in with very experienced practitioners. So they actually got an experience that was, I think, showed the versatility of our industry. And we did that free of charge. And I think that was really critical for us to be able to, one, give back, but also not lose track of what's important to students as well. I can imagine after COVID that your experience will be quite different from mine as well. So if there is anything that you do need from a student perspective, please don't hesitate, and certainly reach on out, because I think that group clinics like that can be really helpful. You can bounce ideas off each other, but also have experience from a wide variety of different clinicians as well. So that is an additional service that we offer. The other thing that I do often come up against is depending on where you are in your studies, you'll find you'll get different access to different tools within this industry. Some suppliers don't allow access to their products until you're in your second or third or fourth year. So, you know, if there's anything that potentially you're struggling with, or anything that you'd like to, you know, try, or you want more clarity on which suppliers you can interact with regard to their products, depending on where you are in your studies, again, reach on out, because we can provide a really straightforward, clear guideline on what that actually looks like for you as well. So I think that's my time, Carmel. So yeah, together we're stronger. We put together this wonderful little catalogue a couple of years ago, where we had just a remarkable amount of fun. And yes, they are cartoon caricatures of myself and my two sisters.
Love it. Oh, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Shilo, for your amazing presentation. Yeah, I'm just blown away by so many different things that you've talked about tonight. So I'm loving the all-female sisterhood. Yay, that's so cool. I'm loving your passion for the industry. I'm loving your support for you know, both practitioners and students, and everything that you offer in that way. Ariya Health is obviously, you're offering a huge range of brands for you know, practitioners to access across Australia as well. The liquid herb dispensary and the prescription service that you offer there, that is a real awesome opportunity, especially for, you know, new practitioners. There's so many setup costs, and that really eliminates, you know, the need to have a massive, you know, dispensary on hand. You know, you're always going to need a particular herb for a client that you don't have, and so being able to utilize that prescription service, especially for the liquid herbs, that is, yeah, really, really awesome opportunity for practitioners. I love the way you can put in all that information and it calculates things for you, like calculating the child's dose. That's always awesome too. You know, when you've got a client in front of you and you've worked it all out, and then you have to convert it to child's, and you know, all of that, it's going to really streamline things for you as a practitioner as well. So also the clinic supervision aspect that you offer, what an amazing opportunity for the students to for what you're offering there up in Townsville. You know, go and you know, book out a motel somewhere, stay for that clinic block, and you know, have that experience with the range of practitioners and getting all their wisdom and knowledge. Sounds fantastic. So I also love the QR code in that presentation. What a brilliant idea. So, you know, if you're watching this back later, you can obviously pause it on that and yeah, access all of that information. And yeah, thank you for being so, you know, approachable and real, and you know, just a yeah, really supportive, nice person in the industry for all of our practitioners and all of our students, and when they're practitioners, to access. So yeah, thanks so much, Shilo. We really appreciate that. I'll just have a look in the chat, see if we've got any questions. I wish I lived in Townsville, Simone says.
We have done these clinical support blocks elsewhere as well. So please don't feel that your location is potentially restricted. I think what might also be really great would be insight, you know, from the team to determine, you know, whether or not, you know, jumping in or, you know, being included in Zoom sessions or, you know, clinic mentor sessions, those sorts of things could be helpful as well, because we're happy to do that. So yeah, please don't feel that, you know, being isolated or not here is at all a restriction.
Thank you. So learn more with Switch On Health. We'll